welcome to Henley.
Thank you.
And, you know, a very different stretch of water to the last one we were by, but it's a piece of water that's very, very dear to my heart because I live here in Henley and I used to swim in the river here. But since I've started testing the water, I know that it's full of bad stuff, so I've stopped swimming. What I'm doing is just rinsing this out. So we just wash it out a few times. Just saves us from any cross-contamination from previous places. And then if we can tip this in, what's that looking like?
Pretty good.
So you can see the water's clearer here than it was down there. So you can just about see the bottom there. But, you know, again, compared to Normia, where like, you had to wear sunglasses to see how bright it was. Yeah. So here, just taking a small sample of the water here. And then what we have are these tubes, which we used before. And we fill the tubes with water and give it a shake. So we've taken the sample from the river. So we'll wait and see what happens. Brilliant, we can get rid of this now.
Yeah, thank you.
What we can see here is the result. It's actually not too bad. So I think the problem we have today is with nitrates rather than the phosphates themselves. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see, you know, in the summer where you have less rain and the flow is a lot less, that the pollution becomes a lot more concentrated. So ironically, Monika, you'd be better off swimming today than you would be in the middle of summer when it's 35 degrees, which is like, who's going to go swimming today? What we see here is just going to get worse. I mean, the predictions in terms of the degradation of our rivers is frightening. Like at the moment, there's only 14% of our rivers which are unpolluted. They're forecasting that to go down to 6%. I know you go, well, hang on, we're forecasting it to get worse rather than get better. You know, it's just like there's so many things, but there are solutions to all of this.
Yes.
I mean, and ironically, one of the things I'm beginning to understand is a lot of those solutions are nature-based solutions as well. You know, I've been reading a lot about restoring rivers to the way they naturally work, having wetlands, having ways of slowing water down before it gets into rivers. You know, we need strong regulation like you have in Finland in order to protect our waterways, and we need citizens to be getting angry about the situation and saying we need to change the situation.
The first thing that comes to mind is like it would be just easy to put fines. That fine should be used
to improve. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And it should be much higher, the fine, in the summer months, because now it's like free ride. You can put shit into the water and nothing happens. Totally.
It's a really interesting. But you know, here's the curious thing is people just don't understand enough about what's going on. So I think in order to do things like the fines, as you suggest, which I think is a great idea, there needs to be investment in understanding all of this stuff a lot more.
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess at the moment, because of the way our country is and the defunding of the regulators and the people with oversight, it's left to citizens to kind of do that. I think it sort of feels like there's a lot to be done in terms of just really sort of thinking this stuff through. Yeah. And, you know, me with my pole as I sort of stand here, I mean, I guess this is part of what I believe is the solution, is you start with data, you start with understanding. Like, every time I do a test, it raises more questions in my head, you know, around what's going on, what's the river doing, how's it working? And, you know, it's sort of that I think is a good foundation in terms of sort of thinking through some of these solutions.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where it starts. Because when you stand here and look at this, you don't realize the problem because it's so close.
Exactly. I mean, look, it's beautiful.
It is.
It's a stunning vista. You know, for me, I got so passionate about the whole subject of water and why, you know, I want to give this piece of water, the River Thames, a voice in terms of the way that it's been treated. And I think, you know, what we don't have is oversight from our government and, you know, so it's down to people like myself as a citizen scientist to kind of be a voice for the river.